Hey everybody, welcome back to another interview for Fountainhead TV. And it's my immense pleasure to have my friend Lou here with me. I'd say you probably, in 99% of cases, you probably don't know who he is. But chances are you've heard him play. He's worked with a lot of talented, successful, great people. He's probably played in front of a lot more people than you or I. But most of all, I know him as just a beautiful human being and a great friend. And
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to have you here on my casting couch.
Thanks a lot. Well, it's a bit fluffy, but
Yeah.
it will stand the
Seen some
evening.
action. So.
All right.
Well, first and foremost, if you could just tell my and our audience a little bit about yourself, about your background and your story, that'd be great.
Well, okay. Hi, I'm Lou. Well, it all started out in my absolutely youth because I grew up in a very musical family, so it became very natural to me to want to make music. So, well, I started it. I started the normal way, like anybody else does, because picking an instrument or two or four and start to learn it because you want to improve some people, especially girls. Then next stations, school bands, a few, and right after that it came very, very fast. In the 80s there were the need for people playing guitar for commercials, for instance. So I was with my family background. I have the luxus being well educated in terms of music, and so it came quite natural and got an invitation. Hey, I saw you. Can you play some stuff in studio for me? I didn't know what it was or what. They told me, hey, come on, rock song, just a riff, come on, get in the studio, make it. So I did. It went out very well. Well, it was a radio's commercial, and from that point on, I knew a lot of persons were interested in having something reliable and fast. Because one of my strengths was and is to nail a studio track really fast. I don't know why, but it is this
And
way.
because you're good.
So I worked in advance to reach that goal.
Right.
So it worked out very well, and it got more and more and more and more, and so I played in cinema commercials, all that kind of thing. I was a hired gun. I still am. So it came out that the industry showed some interest because we have some amp here, we have some effects here. We saw you play. Would you like to present it on Frankfurt Music Messe? And so it started all out. So you very naturally, if you're an open-minded guy, you learn to know a lot of more people, got more contacts, more possibilities. So I was the whole 90s. I was touring about amps and effects. I was presenting. I was giving workshops all over the place, mostly Europe. And so I always had my live bands. I was in a band's team for 70 years.
17 years.
17 years. So because that was my vehicle to make my own music. I composed most of the stuff, great people, and but it ended up somehow because it ended. And from that point on, I was on various stations because one of my strengths as well is to integrate myself more easily into band projects who need guitar players. So I got some calls very often and getting more and more often. So everything fell together on that point. So, well, there's a lot of people still calling about some recordings, and now I have a few people which I'm making music together with. So, and people keep calling, and if I find a time to do it, I'll do it.
Right.
That's the point.
Beautiful. So, I think one of the most important points and most important subjects that we could tackle to give our audience something of interest and value would be to give them an insight into the mind and the schedule and the the working environment of a studio guitar player.
Yeah.
Because just from my perspective, I get a lot of requests from people asking me the infamous question, hey, how did you get that job? How did you end up in that situation? How do you work as a studio guy? And I think you're a much better person to talk about that.
Whoa. You really think?
I do.
Okay. Well,
Don't
first,
make me say it twice.
no. Well, one thing, the most important thing is reliability and the ability to see the vision of the producer. That's first and foremost thing, because nobody would hire me to play polka, even if I can do it.
Right.
But nobody would call me about this. So when people call me, they have a knowledge, because it sounds very crazy, but I try to be a very versatile guitar player. Play the acoustic stuff and mandolin kind of thing, and also play the electric stuff with all colors in between. I play everything from funk, blues, jazz, rock, metal, those kind of things, because I'm interested in good music, and to me, good music is not fixed to a genre.
Mm-hmm.
It never does. So I always try to master different styles, because it's very unique if you play a metal song and rip off some country blues licks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
Absolutely.
heavy pick and stuff. Because nobody would do it.
Right. Yeah.
So so making those kind of things seems to be very interesting, even for the persons who see me playing live or hear that stuff what I did. So be interested in a variety of styles, because it's like a car, you know. If you used to have the tendency to use just one car, let's say a cabrio,
Mm-hmm.
it will be hard to bring your stuff with a cabrio, especially if you play 412 cabinets like I am. You have a hard time if you don't change the car, you know.
Right.
Take a transporter for that, that's fine, you can do it, and take the cabrio for another
Yeah,
occasion.
you gotta have the right tool for the job.
Definitely. It's also like, be prepared in your mind for it. Get as much information together you need before you go in and play there. Definitely be prepared. And if you have a lot of information about the principles of the whole thing, who's producing it? Who wants to sing above it? Or your guitars? What do they want? What do they want? But even if you know what they want, you cannot be sure, because, you know, recording is a creative process, and if they see, hey, you can play acoustic guitar, can you do some picking stuff right underneath that C part? Well, let's do it. So, so your preparation doesn't have to be on that one point which is requested for now, because you have to be more open-minded to open up to the vision of the producer. And if they tell you, hey, come on, do you have some idea? There's something missing, I don't know. And they're very thankful if you can throw up some crazy things, or you put some more layers on it where you can say, hey, come on, let's do it this or that way. Because I made great experience in grooving metal. If you double your heavy, distorted, not so much distorted in studios, guys, yeah, take out the distortion.
Words of wisdom.
And stack an acoustic guitar, acoustic Western steel string guitar on top of it.
Mm.
You got that bristle, that rank,
right.
that honk, and then you can pinpoint the markers of the groove very great. So, and then you mix it, blend it together that you don't hear the ingredients of it all. You know, like sauce. You know, there's a guitar sauce, and there's a lot of stuff in it. Good wine, some onions, some garlic. You know the recipes. So, and if you do it this way, be open to that, to add a little extra to it, and then they call you again.
So would it be correct to say that you get called in because you're able to do a very specific thing really well, and they have seen or heard you play that, but then once you're in the session, this is the situation where your versatility comes in, so you can be spontaneous, you can offer different things when needed.
It's always great to offer different things, or be able to offer different things.
But that's not why you get called in.
No. But that's part.
Right.
Because they know. They know me.
Yeah.
And they come in and say, hey, come on, we have a song here. We need a layer of guitars. Mostly it's 8 rhythm guitars. Different amps. So you take some rectifiers, you take some Marshalls or Soldanos, and you stack them, because each and every amp got its breathing point on different frequencies. And if you layer and stack them, but you have to play precisely on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you have a variety of sounds. And I'm the old-fashioned guy, because I don't like reamping. No, I hate reamping.
Right.
Because if I nail a track down to the machine, it's my track. It's my ingredients. It's my picture of it. And you can, sometimes producers decide to reamp a session, mostly with the same amp I used for the original track. But if you play, let's speak, you play a typically Marshall riff, something from the mid with balls and kicking ass, and you make a reamp with a clean Fender Twin. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sometimes people do it to I don't know, to irritate themselves or what? I don't know. I haven't seen the goal behind it. Mm. But in a normal case, it's they have a vision. We speak about it. We talk about it. I play it, and it's the recipe part of me, which is in the song now. So I don't like reamping on that. But also the knowledge of to handle sounds, because you can play layers of tracks. Let's say just the classics. You take a Mesa Boogie Mark II, the creamy ones, the California sound. You take a Marshall for the grits, and you take a rectifier on it and a Soldano, and you have a very thick wall of guitars, and then you can pick from it.
Right.
So it's a part. My work is to deliver a fat layer where they can take out everything which is not wanted. Mm-hmm. So, and that's part of my playing, part of my working habitus, so to speak. And if they reamp the whole thing, I don't feel very well with that. That's
right.
To say.
But that has happened in the past. That people would do that and
yeah,
didn't recognize your tracks anymore.
Yeah, Yeah, I recognize my tracks because you know that when you play a certain song with a certain track, you know where your attack is, you know where your sustain point is, you know where your damping point is,
Right.
and you can even recognize your own parts hearing the clean DI.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can recognize, but it's not the way I felt it.
It's
You can
true.
take a lot of feel out of it,
Yeah.
because if you stand in the recording room and you interact with your environment, because it's a very important thing to have that chain from player via guitar going to the amp, maybe effects, maybe not,
True.
but that's a circle, and you respond to it because while recording, you know it. You can feel, oh, this is going to be work out great. That's great stuff you're now playing. That not means to be selfish, but that's some satisfying thing. While playing it, you get a response, and it comes out the way you wanted it. That's very satisfying. So now you reamp that. That's not the same feel, you know?
Absolutely.
So, well, finally, it's why I'm called. Yeah, it's a mixture of all that to deliver sound. I'm a sound freak. I'm a totally sound freak because music is sound to me. You can listen to Dave Gilmour or Brian May or Jeff Beck or Steve Vai or name him. You know what I mean. You get a certain feel and let's say meat. Yeah, you get a certain feel and meat. That's that fleshy part of the tone. When the sound is great. Take some scrappy transistor radio and blast your guitar through it and like digital. Wow. No, that's not my thing. So, yeah, the main thing, and be open to that. Well, because most studio situations, if you're prepared or not, tends out to be one thing. You come in for a specific task. We got you because we have to record a song, this or that. We want you to play this or that direction. Whenever somebody decides to change, let's say, a keyboard line, which is crucial for the song, they take it out and put some other thing in, maybe your guitar parts doesn't fit anymore. So you have to transform the song, your guitars, into the new situation of the song.
On the spot.
You have to be able to communicate with the producer. So what do we do now? Maybe we change it, or maybe we keep it. Can be interesting because the tastes of the producer and the artist decides where to go, and you have to be prepared for that. So, well, in the past it worked out well. Yeah, it did. So I got the call.
Right. And what do you think, on top of your skill set as a musician, what is important in dealing with people, communicating with people in such a situation?
Being serious, and serious doesn't mean in that situation don't laugh, you know. So being serious, be responsible, because you have to act responsible because somebody's paying money, you giving you money that you do something good for them. So you have to be responsible for your actions. It's like the situation on stage, you know. You have been booked as a rock band, so everybody can expect that when you go on stage, you can behave like a rock band. But when it comes to the other side, backstage, don't be the asshole you've been on stage, because on stage, that's maybe part of your image. Backstage, it's not likely seen very well
Oh yeah, that's a
because
really important point.
when we go up to the stage, we have to deliver a show. We have to make the people happy who paid to see you, or the band, or the artist, or whatever. When you're part of the chain, you have to behave like the chain. And if you have to behave like a rock star, a typical one, then do it. Do it on stage. Don't do it backstage. Because all technicians, all sound engineers, the light engineers, the tour managers, the caterer, etc., etc., they have very sensitive antennas. And when it comes to the job for being a live guitar player for somebody, they don't ask you first, they ask the road crews you worked with first.
Mm-hmm.
And if they tell, oh, come on, this guy's drunk every time, he's an asshole, you have to clean up the whole thing behind him.
And that kind of information travels fast.
Oh, faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
Believe me.
That's true.
Believe me. And definitely mostly the truth. So, well, I saw, and when I say I know, I saw persons treating their technicians and roadies like servants. They don't understand the full concept of a show. Because if you drive your mixing guy on the front desk mad, he will make a mad sound. You can play your ass off on stage and do great things.
Yeah.
If he said, I don't want you to be hurt, that's it. So the first thing in being a live player is to understand the concept how a show works. So that means if you're bought to be the asshole on stage, okay, go out, go on stage, be the asshole on stage, but please don't do it backstage. Very important.
Absolutely.
You agree? Yes, you agree. You agree. Yes. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And as you know, I've seen my share of people doing that. So yeah, absolutely. And live playing is one of the things you do. Studio playing is another thing. Then you've also been in a ton of different situations, ton of different groups, different combinations of musicians. What are the main character traits that you think make a human being in a musical situation that people want to call, and what character traits make a musician that people don't call?
Be honest. That's the first thing. Be honest. If you say something, do it. If you announced something, follow it. If you have to argue, do it in a way that both of the parts arguing can look in the eye after that.
Mm-hmm.
A very important thing, because it's very difficult and hard in the long run to build up an image of reliability and responsibility.
And it's very easy to make that whole
Within
thing crumble.
a wink of an eye, you're the absolutely fool for everybody, and even if part from misbehavior has been announced somewhere, that holds a lot longer.
Mm.
So it's like cleaning up the flat, your living room, you know. The longer it stays the way and you don't do anything, the more dirty it gets.
Yeah.
So you have
Good
to
example.
to actively clean up
Your shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So so it's very important to being called again is to be honest. And if you don't like something, you can say it. It's no problem, because the world is not seen equally by anybody. Each and every person has a different view on this world. And if it differs from yours, tell it, no problem. But do it in a way that each and every person can take eye contact together and say, hey, come on, it maybe maybe it doesn't match at all, but we can have a drink together and a good time. Maybe for the next project, can I call you again?
Right.
Kind of thing. So it's also about being polite. It's not about being polite to put yourself back in a back door out of that, but it's yeah. If you're friendly and not complicated, and people have an easy access to you as a person, it's a lot easier to get a next job. But the other thing is you don't have just to be polite. You have to know your instrument, and you have to know your borders. Because if somebody, I love playing country western style. For me, as a technical exercise, I love that. But if a country and western band would call me, hey, we need a crazy chicken picking teller guy, I would say, yeah, I know two guys, they're perfect match for you. I'm not. So, because playing a song in a certain style is one thing, but to deliver a whole show with a stance to it and make an impact on it, a totally different thing. So you have to also know your limitations. It's also very important, and the better placed know leads to the next years.
Would you agree that it's also very important to communicate your boundaries and your limitations in a way that is not self-deprecating?
Depends. It depends. Yeah, it is. But on the other hand, it's why not change? Maybe in 1 year I've experienced so many country and western licks and styles, and I would love to make it just to keep the mind fresh, to change, to get new focuses. Why not breaking through that barrier? It's not having such limitations is not forever. If you're open-minded. I know guys who say, I'm making hard rock since the 70s, I will make hard rock till I die. Okay, that's serious. Nobody would expect Ingrid Malmsteen playing jazz right now. He can, if he wants to, but he will not, because he don't want to. He wants to make his thing, and that's fine. Yeah. So, but for me, trading my limitations never helped me out in a way to make it more clear, because I get a request and I check, can you do it? Will you stand it? And if not, then I'm telling my limitations. Otherwise, why not? Why not making new experiences? I always say there's no app on your smartphone for making experiences. Yeah. And it's really important to know.
So being confronted with a limitation that you have, what does that usually mean to you? Does it make you go home and practice to be ready for the next time that specific request comes in, so you'll be able to deliver?
Depends on who asks. Definitely. Because I know people, when we make wide variation of music together, long time, and if they ask me, hey, come on, can you help out? We need you for half an hour for this or that. Then I would say, all right, I can do it. I can make it. I'm breaking my personal borders, because then comes a sportive mind and say, hey, come on, you haven't done it before, let's do it. Yeah. Let's master it.
Let's see how far we can take it.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it's also very important if you have a bad feel or not a good vibe for it, don't do it. Don't do it if you don't feel comfortable within that situation. Because if I have some friends playing country and western music, and if they ask me, hey, come on, make a little showcase up here and there, I would say, hey, come on, we know that you are not from that. Okay, that's fine. But if some hardcore down to the bone country western guy come around and tell, hey, when you get a guitar player, come on, could you go down? Where you go right? Well, that would not work out for me because I don't know the guys and they don't know me, and I wouldn't. Part of the game is to refuse to deliver a bad picture of yourself. If you make a fool out of yourself because you say, I can play everything, that doesn't work. We can plan it, we can work for it, but it never works out this way, you know? So that's, you can have a clear mindset on that and say, yeah, come on, it's great, everything, but if you cannot manage to do it, don't do it. A very dangerous ground.
You have to be self-aware.
Definitely. And I also have to talk with persons just like you. When we say, I'm not sure about it. And most of the time I get the great response for that. So have you thought about this or that way? And that makes your own picture more clear because I'm not alone in this world.
Absolutely.
Happy.
Music is a team sport, everybody.
Definitely. And asking friends, band colleagues, kind of each and every person who can relate to a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And if you talk to them, you get an answer. But you have to make your own thing out of it. Mm. The decision is yours. Because it's your shoes you're standing in. It's your face which is connected to that situation on it.
Absolutely.
So if you mess it up, nobody will call.
Absolutely.
So
make sure you don't get yourself in a situation where you will mess it up eventually.
Definitely. If I see it in advance, I don't do it.
Right.
But you have to be honest to yourself. The hardest thing on this planet is to be honest to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise you will learn it the hard way. I learned it the hard way. May I share a story?
Yeah. Share a story, please.
Yeah.
Hey, I love your stories. You know that.
When I was about, 17, 18 years old, I had a couple of friends who had a jazz band, and they were in urgent need of a guitar player. Yeah. And where I come from, there's not many guitar players. Like, if I had been less arrogant about it, I should have, the thing I should have said was, thanks for the call, and I appreciate it, but I've never played jazz before.
Yeah.
Which was the truth. Instead, what I said was, sure. So I took the gig. And it was, so I sat down for, a couple of hours, maybe 2-3 days with lead sheets of the songs that we're going to play.
National notation? Okay.
Yeah. Which also I hadn't done before. And I somehow my youthful brain just kept coming up with excuses why I couldn't do it on the spot at my own home, but why it would be okay on stage. Because, obviously I was so goddamn awesome, it needed to happen this way, right? And so it you can probably imagine what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think I made it past the first chorus of the first song without just completely losing track of the changes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, fortunately for me, that happened at a very young age in a very small town, and it made that light bulb go on in my head. So that's learning the hard way, right?
In that form, the hard way is the wrong way. You
right.
know.
Yeah. But it was a good lesson for me, but still, like, I would like to prevent people from doing the same thing. Especially
you like to prevent people from playing jazz gigs.
Well, I think honestly, I think the world would be a better place if everybody had more sex. So people playing less jazz gigs equals people having more sex. So.
But do you know that there's some situations, even if you grow up, some slight jazz is the preferred music for having coitus.
The smooth kind.
The smooth kind.
But we didn't digress.
All right.
This is for off camera. So
Again?
again. So coming back to the whole studio musician thing. I know you have a lot of equipment and you know a lot of about equipment.
Yeah.
My question is, how did the jobs and the jobs you had and the calls you ended up getting influence your taste and decision to get certain equipment and to work with your equipment in a certain way?
It does. Because it depends who's calling you, what do you need. Because if you have to bring the appropriate tool for the work. So if you get, let's say, a great camera with all kind of focus objectives, all kind of flashlights, you have a great camera, but you were booked as a mechanic to repair a car.
Right.
That could be an interesting day, but maybe it's not maybe it's not satisfying.
Right.
So, speaking musical terms, it's definitely you have to deliver an appropriate sound to each and everything you do, to each and every music you're in, and definitely it absolutely it's crucial to have the fitting equipment for the gig.
Right.
So sometimes I'm even if we play classic rock kind of thing, I have my Strats, I have my Tele, I have my Les Paul, but I also pick up my green jam guitar just to make a mark. That's me.
Right.
So that's, by the way, I saw pictures. I've seen pictures playing that guitar on stage from 500 meters away, and you see that green dot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You see,
Really?
so each and everybody knows the lollipop guitar.
Right.
Some guys don't like jam, but I love it. But well, it's a personal mark on it. But when the music wants specific sounds and needs a guitar player who carry the sound responsibility for a song.
Right.
Because most guitar players underestimate or underrate the importance of playing a straight rhythm guitar and filling the groove of the band. Because everybody wants to stand out and play 14 finger pull off at rapid fire speed, but that doesn't move asses.
True.
Guys, if you go out there and want to have chicks, move their asses with your music. Do it with groove. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's smooth groove. You know how life is, or sex. And then you get more attraction from the people, because they see, hey, come on, that's grooving. That makes fun. That's a lot of fun to listen to that. So, but for that you have to take the appropriate equipment to fulfill that.
True.
So, that's the reason why I'm very interested in in a variety of styles, and I want, if I play some of those styles, I want to play it in a manner that you can feel that is genuine, and this fits into the music, because you can play jazz but not with a Marshall. If you play jazz rock and prog, you can play jazzy stuff through a Marshall, but that's a different situation.
Right.
So that's like, you always have to carry the right tool with you.
Right.
And that means taking the appropriate equipment with you for the job.
So your job, has it led you down areas where you try to downsize your equipment park to say when the pod first came around? Did you try that? Did you try to go for a minimal equipment to carry with you, which does more of a mediocre job at mimicking the various tools that you have at your disposal, or was that never an option for you?
I tried, but it doesn't work out properly because the pod is a great tool for playing some stuff at home, but playing on stage you don't have a balls.
Mhm.
So it's a totally different thing. So you need more impulse from your live rig on that. I need it.
Right.
There were times where I played like I was familiar with in a studio. I had a rack system. I still have a rack system, and let's say a good height.
Right.
You've seen it. And well, I wasn't too much in hey, come on, everything's DI'd, everything's speaker simulations and kind of and go out straightly to PA. And I haven't had the response.
Mm.
So I got very one-dimensional in my playing because there was no interaction with my environment. It was like in the studio, if you play from the control room and not from the side where your amp is.
Mm-hmm.
Today, when I'm recording, I always try to play where my amp is to pick up the response from the amp, from the dynamic. If you do it in a control room, you have, let's say, the beam is going beside of you. It's out of your way.
Right.
It doesn't hit you.
Right. You can't react to it.
You
as
can't
much.
react to it. You cannot be an organic part of your own playing if you're out of the way.
Okay.
I don't say it's wrong to do it this way. I just feel it differently. So if you take a pod out on stage, the pod is great sounding on earphones, on control rooms, speakers, monitors, very good, but it doesn't have the balls you need
Right.
to make a difference in sound, to even take over the responsibility to drive a riff to its limit. It's limited in its dynamics, but it's not wrong to have it. I still have.
Right.
So yeah, but to me, what works great, I love my big rack with Sodano, Langer, Randall, all kinds of stuff. But it's very hard to carry it everywhere. So you have to find some alternative which works as good as the big rig. But sometimes if you have fly gigs, you have some fly board and 2 guitars,
Right.
and enough stress to get through the security.
Right.
With
Not
it.
to mention that you don't have the money to buy a second seat for your guitar or your amp or your rig.
Definitely, yes, sometimes not. Sometimes it's paid. But different story.
Right,
Sometimes you get it.
Mhm.
If you tell you want this or that, then I need this or that to
Right.
get my equipment safe over there and back.
So have you found a suitable immediate way to
Yeah.
make up for your rig
Yeah.
that you can carry on everywhere? What would it be?
Yeah, it's 2 parts. It's for some cover stuff. It's right now some Line 6 floor stuff. I have 2 of those. And the next step will be in 2 months a camper. Because I tried a few campers out and it seems to be a lifesaver. Especially the power amp version, if you have the possibility to breathe your own sound on stage, and so it will be the camper, and then I have the great possibility to leave my really beloved tube amps at home safe, and I can carry them with me. So a camper right now is a rental standard. So you just have to travel with your USB stick. and then you have a rigs
Absolutely.
with you.
Yeah.
So that makes...
As you know, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. And yeah, for me, I find it very convincing. And with that, I can really forget a lot of amps I would carry with me. Well, they will put to the studio and they will wait for their next recordings there, but I don't have to pull out of it and putting
Right.
back from. So the next step will be a sort of camper
Okay.
kind of thing.
Let's move on to guitars. I know you love to talk about guitars.
Yeah, of course.
So
who
you,
not?
Yeah.
Yep, my wife.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
You have a shit ton of guitars. Well, Lou has
You're
probably the most extensive collection of guitars from people I know here in
It's
Berlin,
never enough.
and it's never enough. So, what do you look for when you when you're up to getting another guitar? Why so many?
Have I said I love guitars?
I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. You know, like, if I had the choice, I'd have even more than you, but I don't. So
Yeah, no, you will not, because if you have more guitars than me, then I will have more. At least the Spinal Tap thing, one more.
yeah. Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
well, that's really, can I say, schizophrenic part of it?
Sure.
Because one thing is I love guitars. Having the right guitar for the right thing, for the right music, is very helpful. Well, there's people who are so gifted that they don't depend on it. Just like, say, Guthrie Govan. You give him any guitar in his hand and he can play any style on that guitar.
Right.
And because of the way he plays it, he delivers the sound through the guitar, wherever he's plugged, and it's spooky.
It is. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Great master Guthrie, yeah, great. But you know, well, but on the other hand, yeah, I started out, my first real electric guitar was a Strat, not because of Hendrix.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted an electric guitar, and for no reason I was glued to the window of the music store where there was Sunburst, Strat, White Pickard, Rosewood fretboard.
Makes me think of a Wayne's World. You remember that scene?
definitely, yeah.
One day she will be mine.
Yeah.
Isn't it a white
Yeah.
Strat too?
No, my White Strat I got 4 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
My White
I haven't
Strat.
seen it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have seen it yet.
All right. It turned out to be. Yeah, I love it.
Right.
So, well, one thing is that Strat. Okay, it took my heart right away. It was love at first sight, and to master it, to learn to play it, because coming from acoustic guitar, changing to electric guitar is a change. It's the same family of instruments, but it behaves totally different.
Absolutely.
So it was.
But it's great to know both sides of the story. To have a background in both is really helpful.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, but not just steel string, nylon string as well. I'm very interested in flamenco.
Did you start with nylon or steel string?
Steel string.
Oh.
Steel string. Because in school we had those nylon strings, and playing that D and C and G chord in school on ring nylon. That's not the way a nylon should be applied.
True.
When I play nylon, I play different stuff from that.
Right.
So for the classical guitar thing, and kind of stuff, that's great. Yeah, but okay. Now, electric guitar. Why so many? I learned from that. I fell in love with that guitar. It was the greatest guitar. A friend of mine came around, had a Les Paul, and well, also nice. But to take Ingwe's words, furniture. So, but I love my Les Pauls. You know my Les
Can
Pauls.
we just please take a moment to appreciate what a man of deep, profound wisdom Ingwe is?
Of course, hey, come on, Ingwe's. That was absolutely.
It's just the best.
He nailed it on the point.
More is more.
But I know also people, Les Paul players, my friend Basti, Les Paul Gibson players,
Right.
who said, "Oh, Strat is plastic guitar, it grunting, it's not my cup of tea." So each and every person, every guitar player can find the tool to his soul. That's why you're playing Soul Tool. So, great guitar. By the way, Soul Tool guitars, great stuff. So, back to initial question.
Right.
Why so many? The more you learn about music, the more you can get into stereotypes. What means taking a Les Paul and a Marshall and a cable and a wah-wah in between, and you're good prepared for a standard hard rock gig, because it's a working combination.
Right.
Getting a Strat, getting a Fender Twin, you're very great setup for funk. Putting the vibrato on stability and have a humbucker at the bridge, then you're more into hard rock and with more abilities. So I checked out all those abilities, and I wanted to have certain guitars on that for specific things. My big first love was my Green Gem. I got it in '87. A friend of mine worked at the music store and said, "Tomorrow that Green Gem arrive here. You're the first to play it. Move it. Come on."
Man, magical moment.
I went there. I know I'm also a big fan, not of Steve Vai, but from Gary Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And they had those Dean Markley combo amps. Dean Markley combo amps were boutique amps in that time.
Was that what Gary Moore was using at that time?
Yeah.
Was that his signature thing?
No. They planned out to bring it as a signature, but he always had the tendency to use that in studio and to play it live, always Marshall, later Soldano.
Alright.
So, because Marshall got the balls.
Right.
It is the way it is. So, I arrived, I got this guitar, that green monster in my hand, I got a cable, plugged it in, one A chord, and it was totally clear. This is my Super Strat, humbucker, single coil humbucker, float rolls, 24 frets, Fender scaling, my guitar.
Right.
And I love the sound of it. Have I mentioned that I'm a real great Steve Vai fan? But it was really, in that decision, it was secondary.
Right.
But
Because it just felt right.
he had the vision I was always looking for. That's the reason why I have 6 Strats at home, with Kayla vibratos, rocking standard, Wilkinson, Floyd Rose. Every Strat is different, because I needed different things. So sometimes you need that single coil Stratty type of tone, and in some environments it's too harsh, it's too sharp. So some people love it, the older ones mostly, but the younger ones like more the humbucker type of thing on a Strat. So
Right.
I like all of that. The logical consequence is to get all of that.
And boy, did you get all of that. And
Yeah,
more.
good. Yeah, but the situation is, I had a lot of guitars, not too many. I had a lot of guitars, but I always wanted to have a Telecaster, because sometimes I picked up a Telecaster and I saw and I responded to that. I'm playing totally different stuff on a Telecaster in the same environment, same music than I did on a Stratocaster. Or I pick up my Les Pauls. Even my Les Pauls are varying from each other. All of them. So
In what way?
electronics, feel. The black Les Paul had that 59th neck, that fat baseball rack kind of thing. Great stuff. Then I had my first signature from MSP. Martin made it differently. He got the right woods together, so he made me 2 of those. And they are more spongy, Les Pauls. They're brighter. They're also lighter.
Okay.
But they have all the characteristics of the Les Paul in a tone.
Right.
Because tone to me is very important. So I also have that out of phase, in phase kind of thing. And they're all variations of the same thing. But when I'm stacking a lot of guitars, I don't take the 59 model. I'm taking my signature model because it's more bright.
So you will cut through the mix better.
Definitely, and when I stack it, it's easier controllable than the 59s because it's a little bit more muddy. It's a little bit darker. It's not a bad guitar. I love it, but it doesn't work so properly in massive stackings of guitars.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because if you make a pop production, you have to stack within one chorus up to 40 guitars for just 3 chords. All have to be played on point, and you can manage the sound better if you have more frequencies and they have more heights, more glitzer, more that sparkling kind of thing. But I also have that low mid behavior of a Les Paul, which we all love, which drive and Marshall into its characteristic range. So you have to work out the characteristic, what works, what not. So, and it differs. So in some bands it works, in some bands not. So you have to find the right tool for the task. And when it looks cool, hey, come on.
Who can argue with that? Right.
So that's also the reason why I love to play my Explorers. I have 3 of those, some with whammy bar, some not, kind of thing. So, but they sound different. My Flying V's, my 2, also sound completely different. Same pickups, but totally different. And they feel different. When a guitar feels different, you play differently. So with me, changing guitars is refusing to play the same old riff over and over again. That's it.
And that's another factor, that you want to keep things fresh for yourself in a band where you have been performing several songs for a long time. So you switch instruments.
Definitely,
that's interesting.
Because let's take a simple song. Let's say Highway to Hell. We can pick each other other song. Take a Les Paul, play Highway to Hell. You have that Guns N' Roses type of feel with that frequency feel. And it's not that open like AC/DC is.
Right.
So it's more muddy, for my opinion. Just for my opinion.
I hear you.
Not for yours, for mine. And so I need something more sparkling. So I take out the Explorer, because Explorer doesn't have that low mid-range on that like Les Paul have. That's mellowed out on that point. It's got more treble on that way, and you have to fight an Explorer on stage. You have to be aware of it. When you play an Explorer, you have to be aware that you play an Explorer. It's forcing you to do it this way.
It's a harsh mistress.
Yeah, but a nice one. Even the harsh mistresses can be very nice. So that works for those kind of songs. That works pretty good. Taking a Telecaster or a Stratocaster to an AC/DC song is like fucking up the whole thing and ripping it. You don't do it. Because if you take a plain Strat with that twang of a Strat or a Telecaster, that would not fit into the character of the song, because the song is selling the whole thing. And us as guitar players, we have to do everything to make the song sound great. And when the song sounds great, people might have an idea that it's you who's causing it. So that means for the right song, the right tune.
Right. How many guitars do you usually bring to a cover gig?
Cover gig. Minimum 5, up to 8.
Wow.
Yeah, but we will play up to 4 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm also a string murderer. I can put a fresh set of strings on it, and I had a tendency to buy the most expensive strings. Elixir, by the way, I used a lot, but they also break. Even if they're so fresh on
That's
it.
interesting. I haven't broken a string in like, I don't know, 5 years or something.
Yeah, but your hand and your the whole way you play guitar is totally different than mine.
That's true. It's not as hard on the strings. It's hard on other parts of the guitar.
Yeah, definitely. True. So you bring the energy of your guitar playing comes from different sides, right, from me.
Yeah, and you have a very specific and pronounced pick attack too.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that may cause trouble for the strings, even though it's a great thing to have.
Yeah, but I changed my picking because when I wanted it more dynamic, so I had a tendency to go stronger in. That's not necessary. Necessary is to be aware how far you bend the string while picking it. Because if you pick it in short, it's quiet. If you have the same amount of power in your hand and you bend it longer, and then you have more energy into the string without putting more power into your hand.
Yeah.
Just with that simple principle, you get more and louder guitar playing. So I'm a bit stressy to my strings. So, and have I said I'm a sound freak? Yeah. So it's
I think everybody knows about that.
To me, it's very important to suit a song with the best sound possible.
Right.
End of discussion for me. And nobody complained about it.
I certainly.
My technician sometimes complains. Again 10.
It's his job, though. So.
Yeah, but he's a lovely guy. Yeah, but I'm the guitar player on that point. I want to do it this way, and I'm doing it as long as the band will do it with me.
Entertains
So,
you. Yeah, right.
So
Right.
it's all for the purpose of entertainment for the audience.
Right.
So I love it.
I want our audience to know just a tiny bit more about the man behind the music. And I would just like to know, what are the 5 defining moments of your career, or the 5 most memorable moments of your career so far?
Whoa. Experience or gigs or moments?
All of the above. What comes to mind first?
It's very hard because having the first recording session in a professional studio is one thing. It went out successfully. It was a commercial for Sparkasse. But it's, what can I say? That it's a life packed full of moments, some of them fading out. maybe in a situation when it happened, you say, that was my greatest moment. For instance, playing in Moscow in Crocus City Hall, opening up for a world famous band, was truly a moment of impact. Or playing the own music in front of 2 million people on New Year's Eve on Brandenburger Tor,
Brandenburg Gate, yeah.
Brandenburg Gates. Also one very a moment of improvement. Impressing. Yeah. The third one is bringing home my first self-paid guitar.
Right, it was number 4.
Yeah. Number 5 is yeah, that's a big moment because meeting great people. Meeting great people is always influencing because new horizons will open up on that. Meeting new people. So it's, let's say, it's a constantly happening moment.
Right.
But that's the most important thing, to learn to know new people, learn to know new music, having fun together, because we often forget, yeah, we do that job-wise, but having fun, have a great life, make a great living out of it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If we don't have fun doing it, how are we going to translate that to the audience?
Yeah. Absolutely. So the 5th moment is the most. It's an ongoing process. Meeting the right people, having fun together, or learning from them, or even it's a lesson if they're different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you meet people, yeah, it was an experience to meet you. Maybe not the best one, but I know how to deal with you in future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I can absolutely wholeheartedly support that.
So it's well, life is a big picture made of small dots, and each and every dot leads to the life you live. Each and every dot. You cannot pick one out, because if you looked on that point separately, so you lose all your surroundings. To me, it doesn't make sense to pin out 4 or 5, 10, 20 moments. No, it's the great thing in my life is I have the absolutely privilege to meet a lot of great people. Well, we have a quota of asshole 1%, 2%, maybe 5%, but that's it. So, but I live. I try to filter assholes out. So everything's fine.
Right.
That's the 5 moments.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And just one more question to follow up on that. In all those decades in the music business, there has been ups, there has been downs. So what do you think has enabled you to stay on top of your game through all these ups and downs, and to have unwavering enthusiasm for music and people after all these years?
Oh, I think it's my personal way to see life. Because I could have maybe the same kind of happiness when I'm painting, making some paintings, or teaching children, or kind of thing. Well, what keeps me moving, I think it's a curiousness. Curiosity. Curiosity will kill a cat. I know, but I'm not a cat. So,
Right.
so I take it,
Yeah.
because I'm curious, because world is turning, whatever I'm doing or not. It will turn. It turned before me. It will turn after me. And I'm just well, let's say we're skeletons from the same starburst supernova riding with flash on a stone through the universe. So what do we want? Yeah?
Mm.
Two fleas arguing who owns the dog on the, what they live. So now it for me it's curiosity. What will happen next? What barrier or border I can break through next, musical wise. I'm curious. I told you, but the viewer haven't. I'm now working on heavily on music, which is written and performed by the great man, the country gentleman Chet Atkins, which is a difficult thing in itself. But there's so much music and so many different styles, which are all interesting. Most of it. If I don't like it, it's not my way to put something down if I don't like it, because I have the my personality will go in a way. Okay, it's not my taste, but you're working hard on that. You're enthusiastic about it. If it would hit my taste, it would be great, I guess. But it's not my taste. And for the things, I try to improve my tastes, the new horizons. Because if you listen to Animals as Leaders, if Animals as Leaders would come up in the 70s, nobody would have understand it. Or Dream Theater, you know, the sporty guys from. So yeah, it's very important to keep some freshness to it, and I'm very curious how many mashups in styles I can master, because the country thing within heavy metal song is one thing, you know, but it's very interesting and people react on that. What was that?
Right.
Yeah, or yeah, doing more classical stuff kind of thing. Yeah, there's so many new lands to explore. One life isn't enough. So, well, it's also possible to sit down and say, "Oh, I've heard everything I wanted to." But it's not the way I would live my life. I'm curious. I want to hear more new music, and yeah, I want music to be more healthy in the future, because right now it's a lot of music is degraded and produced for being a background noise for joggers.
True.
I by myself have the possibility to sit down, put a record on, and just listen the whole record, the whole album. That's not today I'm a dinosaur. It seems to be a special
Not
art
just
form.
you, man. Not
Well,
just you.
it's an art form to listen to an album from front to end. So, but I love it. I love it. Lights out, headphones on, and just sinking into the music. That's just enjoying what other brains, bodies, and minds have created. There's so many great stuff out there. I mean, hey, we all moaned about the loss of Led Zeppelin, but now we have rival sons, Led Zeppelin 0.0. You know, there's some old qualities coming back to music, but also the hard thing is if you produce an album, everybody's downloading it. So you, if you on an economical side of the calculation of the production, you cannot put too many money in that, because it's absolutely unsure to get it out. Even the production costs. So it's a very risky business. It become a very risky business to put a lot of money into one product. So that's the two sides of the medal, you know, and you don't know if it falls, on which side it lands, which one shows up.
Right.
That's the thing. But keep being curious. That's,
I think
have
that's
fun.
that's a beautiful closing word right there.
All right.
Well, there you have it, folks. There's nothing I could add to that. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you.
Fountainhead and Lou signing off. Bye bye.
Bye bye.